friends and enemies. Today, CBP, talking Czech central bank. We're talking Meta. We're talking Bitcoin. We're talking economics. My name's Joey. That's Len. Buddy, what's going on? Good to see you. How are things?
I'm good. Where am I? Could you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're frozen now. Your picture's frozen, but I can hear you.
I don't know why I'm frozen. I'll come back in a second. I'm very good, Joey.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's just odd that my audio is here, but my video is not. Anyways, whatever. Yeah, well, it's good. Meta. Talking about Meta? Why are we talking about those clowns?
Oh, man. I keep on seeing these Moon Boy channels talking about Meta is going to be the next MicroStrategy. It's all the same. I commented today that it looks like all these other channels using the same like title and thumbnail generator with Zuckerberg on there getting hyped about his company buying Bitcoin or whatever. But
yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit. I mean, come on. If people are going to fall for this garbage again, I mean, it's not like we haven't gone through this not too very recent and then whatever. We'll jive on that just a bit.
Totally. Let's do the sponsors first. EasyDNS, you guys know and love Mark and the team. Best place for you to host your content. If you're a guy who wants to start a website, if you're a guy who wants to look into building a business, you need something to host your website on, a service to host your website on, Mark is your guy. You can bring a website over to EasyDNS or he'll help you buy one. Easy in either case. We've done both, I think, with Mark at this point. And of course, if you're a Bitcoin enthusiast, all the niche stuff on the virtual private server side available to you for cheap. And again, very simple to use. So if you want to run a Nostr relay, Bitcoin node, BTC Pay server, nodeless implementation, Bob's your uncle. Mark's got you taken care of. Don't forget too about domain share. Never get nuked by some hack, some nefarious activity, some Chinese ill-named hacking group that we talk about every week on Access of Easy. Mark will make sure that you're protected. And of course, use our promo code CBP Media. You get half of your purchase free. Half off. Can't beat that. So load the cart, go to EasyDNS today, and start your thing, man. No better time than the present to get started. Who else we got, Len?
Yeah, and Bull Bitcoin, another place where you won't get rug pulled is because it's a non-custodial exchange. This is what you want when you're looking to buy your Bitcoin. And you can buy on-chain, you can buy Lightning. Fees are still really low, so go ahead and buy on-chain, and you can sell if you want to. The price of Bitcoin, not sure if you're happy about it being around 94K, so you can buy, you can sell, you can do all that shit with Bull Bitcoin. But not just that, you could also then use your Bitcoin to pay some bills. So you have a electricity bill, you have a credit card bill to pay. You can use your Bitcoin to pay that. It's not too bad. And also you could buy gift cards, so you can start spending that Bitcoin in the real world. Bull Bitcoin gives you a variety of different options what you could do with your Bitcoin. But not just that, if you haven't yet opened an account, open it using our promo code below. $21 will be added to your account. No questions asked. And they just opened up in Europe. France is getting the Bull Bitcoin love. So love to see that.
$21. Len, we have one other sponsor, Decentral Technologies. Are you running your BitAxe? Where is it? Is it just off camera?
It's right here.
Amazing. Yeah. Lots of people taking pictures of their CBP BitAxes. There's none of those left, but you can still buy a BitAxe unit if you like. They're cheap. It's a good way to get into home mining. And I think maybe the most important part is the decentralization of the mining network and the hash rate. We've seen a significant jump in hash power the last year or so. You got to expect that to continue. And if you want to contribute to that, then Decentral Tech is the place to do it. BitAxes, S19s, S21s, you want to get a board repaired, replaced, you want to talk to somebody who's an expert in mining, this is the place you can do that too. And of course, we always try and get the best in class, best in silo sponsors. We think Decentral Technologies is that company based out of Quebec. So Canadian can't beat that. And they've been very supportive of the show since we started our partnership. And I know, I'm happy to continue working with them. There's no promo code over there. So truly a partnership of love. Go over, buy some stuff, and start mining today, man. No better time than the present. Again, I feel like I'm saying that for both sponsors now, but truly, like, you're at this point of Bitcoin's inflection where the likelihood that this gets any easier to do in terms of home mining and hitting the lottery, probably not. Len, it's getting harder every single day.
It's a challenge to do that, to win it all. So with the BitAxes, there's two different possibilities really you could do. One, you could join a pool and get your trickle stats per day. And I think you'll probably get around 100. I could be wrong. So if you're happy with that,
I'll tell you right now. I'll look it up. I think it's like 80 or 90 you get. At least on Brains. I'm on Brains pool.
So I'm really close with that. So you got, your 80 to 90 a day, which, some people may like, or you just roll the dice every 10 minutes. You're going to be in the lottery to win the whole thing, the whole enchilada. And that's the way I think it should be done with a BitAxe. Just fucking roll the dice. You probably won't win, but fucking cares. At the very least, you're providing some security to the network. You're not a bad actor, and you're mining, and you're getting involved in the whole Bitcoin ecosystem. So BitAxes are the way to go.
Totally. Let's do some boosts.
Yeah, so boosts, we have number one, D's Laughs at 123 sats. And he says, great episode as usual. I put you two on some upcoming music I'm working on. That's interesting. You could do that. Keep stacking those sats, people. I agree. Keep stacking in one way or another. Again, if you're using BitAxe, you could stack it on a daily. If not, just keep DCAing. But then don't forget to consolidate your ETXOs at the end, because you don't want to have a whole bunch of small ones, especially when the fees go up. Right now, they're cheap.
What kind of music you think we're going to get on?
I have no idea.
Huh.
I couldn't even have a clue. I mean, would you have just
I don't know.
right? I don't know, man. I'd love to hear it though. It'd be very interesting to hear. But all right, Wartime 333 sats. He does a fire emoji with a couple of beer mugs doing the cheers. Love it. Wartime's always just giving us these emojis. And Jer 1000 sats. He says, "Thanks, boys." You're welcome, Jer.
You're welcome, Jer. Yeah, appreciate you, buddy.
And that'd be all.
That's all. Okay. A little housekeeping. We got an episode coming out Wednesday. Who's the you did an interview on the weekend, I think, right? Who was it with?
Yeah, Tony. So we're releasing that on, because we have two this. I don't even know what the schedule is. We're so I'm
gonna pull the calendar up, but we're gonna be on a bit of a weird schedule because I was a little too enthusiastic booking guests as I started to return from the birth of my newborn here. Let me pull up the calendar. I will say, just
to give you an idea, Tony Yazbek, he's a Lebanese origin, and a very interesting story about, it's a cautionary tale more than anything for people out there that have their money in banks and thinking that their money is going to be secure. The dude was rug pulled of his life savings. He was living on Easy Street, retired, and just enjoying life as what's being offered to him. And just a few short years ago, October 2019, if I recall correctly, was when things went sour over there, and his life savings was just evaporated. And he got into Bitcoin. He's a great speaker. He's part of the Bitcoin way, so he's trying to educate people and onboard them into Bitcoin.
Love that. I've listened to that one. The other interviews. Okay, so I hope everyone's sitting down. We have coming up on Wednesday, Francis Pouillat, CBP corporate, I guess, full Bitcoin founder. He's a fan favorite. We'll be talking to him 7 p.m. Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern, I'll be talking to Mark Ripito. Do your favs. Okay, I don't know if you guys don't listen to the Starting Strength podcast, you should. It is Bitcoin adjacent, even if they don't know it. Recent addition, we just got an email last week, I think, Galen, on Friday from Mayor Ken Sim's office in British Columbia. So we're going to be talking to Mayor Sim the 21st, next week on Tuesday, 7 p.m. I'll be doing that one as well. The 22nd, I'll be talking to Phil Back, who's a market commentator on Twitter. I've heard him on a few podcasts, including QTR's podcast. He's a favorite of mine. We followed each other for some time. I have BTC BAP coming on the 29th. He's the lead, or one of the leads, of the Bitcoin space in Denver. We have John Rubino on the 7th. If you guys know Dollar Collapse, which is now run by Mark. John and Mark were partners in that endeavor once upon a time. And then on the 12th, I think I may do a doubleheader again. I think I may have the Bitcoin Coalition. So Scott Wolf will probably come to the studio that day for a show. And then at 7 p.m. right now, I have tentative on my calendar here, Rich Diaz and Keith Dicker from IceCap Management and the Loonie Hour. So yeah.
No rest for the wicked, eh? You're just going
right into the candle at both ends. Is that what you call that? I think it might be.
Yeah. So just be very careful when you do too much, Joey, because there's a lot of time ahead of us. So don't kill yourself in the short term. But some very good guests.
Yeah, definitely. Can't wait. Okay, where do you want to start? Should we start with the Czech central bank. I feel like that's the
No,
biggest
no.
story of the week. Or you want to go somewhere
Let's
else?
do the meta thing because we touched upon it in the beginning of the show. Let's just tie this one off because this thing is, I don't know why it's getting traction out there because
I know why. Go ahead.
Well, whatever. First we had Microsoft, and now we have Amazon's kind of in the works, but Meta, right? Like, it's getting a lot of buzz because it looks like they're talking about, well, there's a proposal that's being sent to shareholders out there for purchasing, or at least looking at the option for Meta to buy Bitcoin. And remember, Microsoft did this not too long ago, and that vote was trounced. I forget the exact number. Was it 99% or 98%? Whatever. Fuck, it was like watching the Washington Generals.
Yeah,
it was just brutal, right? So the funny thing is, though, there's one commonality with all this. It seems like the same person has been proposing this for all three companies. The same person has put this proposal forth for the shareholders. His name is Ethan Peck, and he's an employee of the National Center for the Public Policy Research. And he has to be a huge Bitcoiner because if he's asking for first Microsoft, now Amazon recently, and now Meta to buy Bitcoin, at least look at the option to buy Bitcoin. This guy is at least raising awareness for Bitcoin to Wall Street. Are they going to do it? Is Meta going to buy Bitcoin, or at least talk about or examine it? Hell no. It's not going to happen anytime soon. Will it ever happen? Yeah, for sure. It could potentially happen within the next year or two. Nah, I don't think it's going to happen. This is just a lot of buzz more than anything. Good PR, but in the end, it's going to be just nothing burger.
Who's a good PR for?
It just gives more recognition, more news on Bitcoin. And if you have a company that's talking about at least the idea of adding it to treasury, it's not like it's a small company or a private company. This is one of the largest companies out there. And just the fact that they're going to vote on it, the vote is going to be, it's going to be a slaughter, just based on history. I think it's good to have a little bit of recognition for Bitcoin to see, yeah, this is something that can be added, and I would say should be added to all balance sheets out there. And the fact that it's an alternative and it's something that should be considered, I think it's pretty good, and people are talking about it, at least for the time being. Yeah.
The reason this is even on my mind is because when I go on Twitter and YouTube, all I see is every channel, every, quote unquote Bitcoin podcast talking about the same shit all the time and using the same thumbnail generator and using the same title generator with like the one all caps word, is Meta going to be the next MicroStrategy? Of course, fucking not. Like, don't be retarded. As Bitcoiners, we have to do better than this now. This is like a legit asset class at this point, Len. It's something that more and more people are looking to in terms of savings, in terms of diversification outside of traditional markets. Hell, even in terms of buying Bitcoin instead of owning a home, right? A lot of people renting and buying Bitcoin instead of paying a huge mortgage at, local high rates anyways over the last 20 or 30 years, 20 years maybe. The way that we talk about these things is important now because there's a lot of eyes on us. And I've said this before, that we have a job to do as content creators, and that job is to be rational, reasonable, and realistic. And what I see instead is some of the biggest names in the space trafficking in some of the lowest IQ currency available, and that's views and clicks. It's frustrating to me to watch this happen. And when I think about like our own channel and some of the other stuff we've done over the years, I'm really proud of the content we put out because I think it's well thought out, and I think it's higher brow than it needs to be, or higher brow than it could be if I wanted to get 50,000 views a video. But it's high signal, and we'd look for good stories. You do such a good job finding stories, and we talk about them in a way that makes sense and try and draw rational lines and rational outcomes and rational, we try and have a rational discussion about things instead of just predicting $1 million Bitcoin every week. And when I see this story, like, we've already gone through this once. You already posted the thumbnail of the MSFT is going to be the next MSTR. And now it's the same thing with Meta. Like, this guy's an activist. And to your point, Len, you're 100% right. The likelihood of this happening is basically zero. And Zuckerberg is a Bitcoiner, by the way, but he controls the shares in a way that he basically has full power over the direction of the company. And I think that he even baked in something so that his kids have full power of the company if something happens to him and his wife. So like the likelihood that the board or these shareholder votes are going to do anything is insane. But again, these other people who are talking about this have done zero research on the nature of the relationship between Zuckerberg, the board, the activist, and something like a Bitcoin treasury strategy. So keep that, keep that in mind. Getting your hopes up is okay. Being optimistic is okay. Like Len said, there's some good that comes from that kind of PR, but be reasonable and rational, because that's how we draw in the best people to Bitcoin, not trafficking in sort of low IQ nonsense.
Remember, you jogged my memory when you're talking about Zuckerberg and Bitcoin. And it was, I think, 4 years ago, it was reported that he purchased a goat and he named it Bitcoin.
Satoshi, right? Or Bitcoin, yeah.
I thought, like, what happened to that goat? Did he end up eating it, or? I would love to know want some closure on that story. Don't leave this cliffhanger open.
The only thing I will say is that I'm going to take a victory lap on the Zuckerberg combat sports weightlifting and his turnaround in terms of his sort of public stance on censorship and adjacent topics. I saw him on Rogan. I listened to most of the episode. I haven't listened to the whole thing, but when I saw him, the first thing I thought was, this guy's not quite at a 225-pound squat, but he's well on his way. And I think you're going to see more from these guys. And I know a lot of people, I was listening to All In, for example, and all those pencil neck retards are saying, oh, he's just doing this, the political winds are blowing this way. Maybe, but he definitely wouldn't have done it if he wasn't starting to change the way that his body is composed. And whether it's, TRT, or whether it's just the weightlifting, or whether it's, the rehab from his ACL injury, all these things build a certain character in people. And you're seeing that with Zuckerberg. And I think you're going to continue to see it as more CEOs go that direction. There was an ETF, remember we talked about it on the show, of CEOs who have posted deadlift videos. And Zuckerberg, I don't think, was on it, but there was a few guys who were on it. And that ETF, I think it was imaginary. I don't think you could actually buy it, but that ETF was really, really well performing. And
that's just it's just a metric that's good to.
That's what you know what you don't agree with this it's
like very DEI, because you're looking at, like, what is DEI in terms, like, what does it do? I know we're going into the weeds here, but like, what's the beef that people have with DEI?
That it doesn't pick based on merit.
Correct.
Yeah,
and that's it. It's based on a particular metric, characteristic, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Does LeBron squat 225?
Yeah.
Does Kaepernick squat 225? I'm sure there's, and I'm not looking at that. There are people that are physically well off, like they're very good, like they're built well, but they make poor decisions. And at the same time, there are very smart people that make poor decisions. It's not what you have. It's not a DEI thing. It's the body of work. That's what matters more than anything else. That's based on merit.
Yeah, what I would say,
I don't give a shit about any of this. I just want to see the proof in the pudding.
We're going to see.
It doesn't matter if you look like this, you talk like this, you think like this. The proof is in the pudding, man. That's what matters.
I predict that this will continue to play out over time. That the people who are most supportive of Bitcoin will wind up being the people who take the best care of themselves. It'll be a side effect or a symptom, or maybe it's a chicken and egg situation, but it's going to be a correlation. And I think you already see it. But I was happy to see Zuck looking like he's a big fella there. Yeah, one smart fella in the chat. It's reverse DEI. That's the thing I agree with. But
it's the same thing. You're just picking it on a particular characteristic. It's not based on merit. It's based. I wouldn't want LeBron on my team, even though he's a great player. I wouldn't want Kaepernick on my team, even though he played very well a few years ago. And there's reasons why I wouldn't want them. I would look at the body of work and say, you know what, I'd choose that individual. And here's why. I could give you a host of reasons. I don't care what they do, this or that. Body of work is really what matters. Plus,
Similar to
we just talked about the on Axis of Easy, that AI stuff. That's the AI chats like in Meta. Like that's going in the wrong direction, right? Like, whatever. Meta. Didn't we have a Meta bull in the past?
that.
What was that guy's name? It was in
Young Money Capital.
Yeah. What happened to the guy?
I think he got a job in finance and had to abandon his Twitter account. Pretty sure.
Whatever. Let's talk about the Czech Republic and their national bank that is making news for Bitcoiners this past week. And I think, the idea of them adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet sounds wonderful because you have their governor. His name is Aleš Mikhail. I think I must have butchered his name altogether. My Czech is either way. Aleš, my apologies for saying your name incorrectly if I did. The idea is that they'll add some Bitcoin to the central bank's balance sheet as a foreign exchange reserve. This is just an idea right now. It's being thrown around. It looks like the board itself, which I believe of 7 individuals, they may not be all in favor of this move. So you might have one individual that likes it, but it has to be a collectively figured out type of move. So it's not going to happen. But one thing they are going to be adding, it looks like, is going to be gold. Gold is something they want to put on their balance sheet. So they want to have hard money. They're halfway there. If you're going to add to your gold reserve, why not get Bitcoin as well? Granted, the price goes up and down way more than it does the price of gold, but it's only 16 years old. So you're going to expect something that young to have some, going ups and downs. Still, in the end, they're getting closer. You have prominent people sitting in prominent positions thinking about or talking about Bitcoin. Again, another good thing. It's getting a lot of good news here in terms of will it happen? I think that it's probably going to have the same thing that with Amazon, with Microsoft, with Meta. No, it's not going to happen. Good idea, but reality, it's not going to be executed. So they're going to, at least for the temporary, they'll have fun staying poor. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, do you think that there's a question here that needs to be answered or at least considered by Bitcoiners? Like, do you want like central banks, national banks, any bank really holding Bitcoin? Do you want that? Is that what you're after? I don't know.
No, it's for friends and enemies. I don't care who buys it. I don't care who holds it, who sells it. You could do what you want with it. It's an asset that is freely available. It's truly a capitalist system. If somebody wants to exchange their money and buy Bitcoin with it, all the more power to them. It's not like you could alter the network. You could change the network. You could influence it. It's just simply buying an asset. So they could do it great. If not, great. It doesn't change my life whatsoever. Mm-hmm. The next few years, nothing changes. So personally, I hope they actually, I'll say this. I kind of hope they don't buy it because I don't want the price to go up yet.
Right.
But I have no influence in this. Wherever it goes, they want to buy, all the more power to them.
Yeah. I kind of think that like they're not talking about adding Bitcoin as a huge percentage of their total assets. I think the quote was like, I just want to add a few Bitcoin or just a couple of Bitcoin or something. I mean, that's probably translated, but
if they had one sat, one fucking sat and claim that we own it, that says something. It's not like we've confiscated, and they wouldn't confiscate it. It's not their position, but they own one sat, just one. I think that's a bullish move for Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It's equally as bullish not to buy the one sat because we know where it's going to go.
you know what the other thing is with these banks? Like if I look at their balance sheet, if I look at their treasury assets, they have stuff like SDRs, which we've done, episodes on. That was years ago now. But the IMF special drawing rights certificates, they have stuff like gold, as you mentioned. They have stuff like foreign reserves. They have stuff like there's like the IMF reserve position too that they probably have. So, like you have all these other puzzle pieces that kind of fit into what a modern central bank looks like or is supposed to look like. If you buy Bitcoin as a central bank, what is the likelihood that all your other operations sort of go on untouched, or all your other operations go on uninhibited, or all your other assets go on unencumbered, it's not 100%, right? We've seen this already, that when you kind of upset the order, there are people in high places who will make it their mission to make your life difficult. And the Czech National Bank, like, God bless the Czech Republic, but that's not exactly a, superpower. So
Is it
I
in
see
the
you guys
G20?
talking in the chat. I don't know. I see you guys talking in the chat there about like great Czech hockey players. Definitely there was some good times. Were some good times for Czech Republic hockey, but is it in the G7? No, I don't.
No,
Definitely not.
G20.
Oh fuck, who knows? I'll look it up.
I have no idea. But it's a stable government. It's in the EU powerhouse. It's more so than a lot of other countries out there.
It's not in the G20. Not in the
Okay.
G20. Yeah.
The one thing for me, the metric here that say, wow, this is a step in the right direction, would be the laws of the land in which you could spend Bitcoin without being taxed.
Right.
When it's accepted as a currency, the same way they accept the US dollar, the same way they accept euro, Canadian dollar, where the fuck you could spend over there. That is like, wow, you could look at that as a huge move in the right direction. This buying, the news of buying all this shit, I think it's more fluff more than anything else. It's the acceptance of it being a currency. Then you could use it as a medium of exchange, and you can encourage people to use it as a medium of exchange. But until then, it's too bad. There's nowhere out there aside from El Salvador.
Yeah.
And even then, you have the private entities.
And they're sliding away, right? They're sliding the other direction a little bit.
Yeah, at least you can't pay your taxes in it. Like you could convert it to fiat somehow and pay like that, like I mentioned before. But really, this is what we need. We need it to be a medium of exchange. So some countries out there is going to have to step up and say, look, let's not tax this the same way we would tax a commodity like gold. Let's deal with this like we would any other currency. Anything to say add to that? You're just.
I think you're right. I think you're right. I
can see the hamster spinning.
The question just continues to kind of stir for me, right? Like, are we going to support central banks taking these actions and going toward Bitcoin? Countries doing it. The strategic reserve is going to be the first example of whether or not, first of all, the market price likes this kind of activity, or doesn't like it if it doesn't happen. And then after that, we're going to see what else happens. The commentary around stuff like the reserve has been the US is going to be the first country to do it, the first country to announce it, but others are already doing it. So I don't know. It's all very fluid at the very least. And I think that there's at least some chance that like the Czech Republic is in the Euro zone. So that's a whole different set of models you have to consider when you're making a decision about whether or not to put Bitcoin on your balance sheet, just because the euro is weaker than it's probably been in the last 10 years right now. So, it
went under $1 at one point, like just briefly. So now it's like 105, 106.
So like relative weakness is pretty high over there right now, just on the whole, right? On the aggregate, whether it's your energy, whether it's your economics, whether it's your military, it's kind of, it's a tenuous, tumultuous kind of situation. And for one of the countries in that Eurozone to add Bitcoin to its balance sheet, I don't know. I think it's
102 as of today.
Yeah.
It dropped in the past.
Yeah. It's going to get below parity. I think it's only a matter of time.
Yeah. Well, everything is suffering hard against the United States dollar.
Yeah, totally.
And well, I don't want to talk about shitcoins, but I think we have to at this particular moment, Joey. And I'm talking about the newly launched Trump trading cards that are they're an inscription garbage with using the ordinals thing. So Trump was mentioning that these are what he called limited edition cards, right? Limited edition. So this picture is one of a kind, and they feature amazing art of his life and career. As long as there's no Trump University card that is available, it's not truly capturing his whole life. So until that's done, this is just a snapshot of his whole life more than anything else, not the whole thing. But remember, he was talking about the strategic Bitcoin reserve as something he wants to do. I'm not sure if this Trump card is part of the whole plan that he envisioned, but here we are. And the hoarding of these trading cards, these digital trading cards, I don't know if this is the way the United States is going to start preserving their wealth. I hope they don't go down this path before they start buying Bitcoin. But I don't know who the fuck wants to be part of this when you could hold on to a scarce asset like Bitcoin. And the sad thing is the only way to get these things really is you have to use Bitcoin to get it. I don't know, $99 they're saying USD for each of these. This stuff is dumb as fucking shit. Who's advising them? I don't have a fucking clue. What are they trying to obtain from or achieve from this aside from padding their pocketbooks? Nothing else. That's really it. They just want to pad their pocketbooks. So fucking done. This is so 2024 or 2023. I forget when you
three for sure.
Oh my God. 2 years too late. And you're bringing this shit up now just mere days before you get fucking sworn in. Give me a fucking break.
Have you seen the very generous silhouette that these ordinals are giving President Trump? I mean, this is a guy who squats 225, but the president does not look like this.
I wouldn't buy that even
that.
if it was offered for free. I'm not fucking kidding. If everyone wants to offer, I will say fuck you. No, I do not want this thing. This rare sats and fuck all this garbage. It's absolute trash. It's just polluting the fucking blockchain. What else could I say?
I don't know. So this is, I don't even know. What is Magic Eden? I just Googled this and this is what it came up. So
I have no fucking clue.
And
I don't even want to know about it. I know enough about it that it's a fucking scam, right?
Yeah.
But the sad reality is this whole Bitcoin strategic reserve or strategic Bitcoin reserve.
You think it's a no-go? We were talking, you, me, and Mark were talking in our chat today, and you think it's not going to happen. You think it's
the likelihood of them.
Well, you got to define it first. The likelihood that they stop selling confiscated coins, I think, is like close to 100%. The likelihood they buy Bitcoin, that's a totally different beast, and I think that's a lot less likely. But I'm not sure it matters, honestly. I think that just the signpost is enough.
How much Bitcoin do they own right now? That MicroStrategy owns more than them.
Yeah, for sure.
United States. When I say United States holding Bitcoin from the seizures.
The government. Yeah.
And they're going to be selling almost 70,000.
They're
Bitcoin.
trying. Yeah, they're fucking trying. Yeah.
They may have already sold it, Joey.
Oh.
We had who knows?
This morning, we did have like a 5% drop in like 4 or 5 hours. Yeah.
And it's not, if you go back, let's just lay the fucking table here, because the Department of Justice made this move some time ago, December 30th. So it's not like it was yesterday or the past week. It's been a couple of weeks ago that this came. It was the Northern District of California that they decided to give the green light to go ahead and start selling these almost 70,000 Bitcoin. This was seized in 2020.
Could California have been spending their time and energy on anything else? Or I guess they don't have much going on over there right now. So I guess this is something they can spend time on.
It's a good way to divert attention away from everything else. Give people masses to cover up the smell of the smoke. So 2020, my mistake, this was seized by some unnamed hacker. It didn't say who was the person that they seized it from. Who the heck knows? Could have been Satoshi for all we know. Probably not. So the delay of all this. It was supposed to be seized. Bitcoin is supposed to be sold some time ago, but this company by the name of Battleborn Investments, and it's a Nevada-based venture firm, and they said they had a claim to this Bitcoin. So until that claim was heard through the courts, and it turned out that they don't have a claim to the Bitcoin, that now they could sell it. So for whatever reason, this Battleborn Investments, their claim to this whole Bitcoin delayed everything a little bit. So they say that these coins can be traced back to the Silk Road. And if you want to go, we talked about there was the price action today in Bitcoin. It went down a few $1,000s, right? We didn't go under 90, close to it, but we did.
We went under. We went to 89.5.
Oh, we did. I'm going to slip my wrists. So Germany sold around 50,000 Bitcoin last summer. The sell pressure was very noticeable during that time. And that was 50,000. What they plan to sell is almost 70,000. So it's just slightly more or significantly more Bitcoin that they're going to be selling. So the price movement as they sell this, you're going to expect the price of Bitcoin to really be impacted by it, regardless of the fact you have these ETFs out there, regardless of the fact you have MicroStrategy buying on a weekly basis. There's just a lot of Bitcoin that they could dump on the market in a very short period of time, and they could do it right before Trump gets into power.
Yeah.
And make sure that the cupboards are bare and there's nothing in it for him to use as a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Some people are speculating the timing of all this. I was one of them too, but until I got a little bit deeper into this and I figured out that this was all delayed because of this company named Battleborn Investments, because they put in a court challenge, I could understand why it was delayed until now. If they weren't in the picture, if they didn't put this court challenge in, this would have been sold a lot earlier. When? Certainly not now, slightly before Trump being elected. So, yeah, the tinfoil hat guy, I'm wearing it, but it's not applicable here.
Do you think it's political that they're considering at least, not only dumping, but dumping and trying to move the price down? Like, this is the thing. It's one thing to dump, but it's another thing entirely to, like, at a time where you just lost an election, at the very least in some part to the crypto crowd, you're not only dumping the coins, but you're trying to destroy the wealth of that same group of people. Even though a couple of Democratic operatives have noted in the last month or 2 months since the election that was a crowd they should have pursued, should have coveted the support of a little more. Like, these guys, they just don't get it. It's unbelievable how obvious some of this stuff is, how easy it would be to win, on some of these issues, on some of these sort of key inflection points. And they just refuse to do it. They refuse to take it seriously. They refuse to make the right decision. It's like they're doing it. I don't know. Like, is it pure incompetence? It can't be. It can't be. They're spiting not only the incoming administration, but a huge chunk of the public who voted against them in the general.
This is par for the course. Historically, whenever they have seized Bitcoin, they don't burn it. They sell it. Just like if they get a car, or a house or whatever, when they seize it, they are auctioned off. So this is just par for the course. I don't think there's any malicious intent here. Or it just is.
It's just protocol. It's what they do. They don't care. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. That's when I looked at the timing. Remember, initially I thought, "Fuck, this does." It looks like they're really trying to screw over Trump and maybe Bitcoiners by doing this just before he gets sworn in. But again, that court case was the whole reason why this was delayed. And even if that does drive down the price, let's just figure out, let's play this timeline out. Mm-hmm. Okay, they do decide they're going to go ahead with a strategic Bitcoin reserve. They're going to start stacking Bitcoin, keeping the one they have, and even buying some more. Wouldn't selling it kind of make it easier for the United States to buy Bitcoin then, because the price goes down and they could buy it before anybody notices anything, and then just add, and then, oh, we bought Bitcoin, and the price just absolutely shoots up. So they could actually buy more by going about this, because you could really drive down the price a little bit and then buy back on cheap. But I don't think it's going to happen. That's just...
No, I don't either. Yeah, I don't either.
That's an alternate universe that I don't think it's going to be playing out.
We're 7 days away from that new administration coming in, and I see stories. And again, like, the timing of all this is interesting, right? You have the sale on one side, it's become public, it's being talked about, and then you have a leak. It's not even really a leak. It's, David Sachs and other people being quoted by certain media outlets that there's going to be crypto, activity on day one, and it's a high priority item. Like, these are two competing factions. And to your point about what would it make it easier for the US to buy? Like, maybe, but you mentioned there the sort of infinite bid from MSTR, the infinite bid from the ETFs. A lot of people want to buy that stuff. And actually, Zero Hedge does a really good job noting every day how much BlackRock picks up during those like 10 to 11 a.m. price slams that we basically see. They're like programmed at this point. So there's a lot of buying going on. And that's another sort of player in this whole thing, right? Is ETF providers, ETF holders, do they want cheaper Bitcoin? It's an interesting time to be a Bitcoiner. We never had these discussions 2 years ago, but now it's not just, us talking about retail buying. It's like, which government is buying, which government is selling, which government is trying to nuke the price, which government wants the price to go up. There's lots of stuff is going to happen in the next month or two. And, I think that the Trump inauguration in a week is going to be a big moment. You got a price prediction for that day? Not a number, but like, do you think you're going to see a significant move up or down on the day?
Yeah, it's going to move up. Absolutely. I suspect, like, leading up and even shortly him being sworn in, there's going to be a rally with Bitcoin, and then the expectation, or at least some people are expecting to hear something to do with a strategic Bitcoin reserve. And when nothing is heard, I think that's going to be a letdown, and there's going to be a massive pullback.
Right.
It's not going to change my strategy, though. I'll be honest, my strategy is always the same. When I have extra, I buy. I don't care what the price is.
Yeah.
But I think that's what's going to happen. And one thing they can do, if they really wanted to add Bitcoin to their balance sheet, is they should just simply accept Bitcoin for taxes, or taxes to be paid Bitcoin. If they do that, if they say you could pay your taxes, your income tax, or any other federal tax that's easy to pay, and they say, we'll take Bitcoin, they could do that, accept Bitcoin, and just keep it. Right? They're running a deficit every year. So it's not like keeping that and not accepting cash is going to change anything in the end. The deficit's going to be very large regardless if they do this. But that would be one move. They could do that, and they could just, without buying, they could just, through other people's actions, start collecting Bitcoin. And I don't know how many people would want to pay their taxes in Bitcoin.
Not many. Gresham's law, right? You'd rather, because as soon as they take Bitcoin for taxes, it makes Bitcoin even better money than it is now. It's already superior money to the US dollar in terms of like its, monetary properties. As soon as they add that to the list, less and less people will want to get rid of it.
Yeah, perhaps. But even if you have a small number, it's a small way to start collecting a little bit of Bitcoin here.
I agree. I agree. For sure.
You're not going out there, you're not buying. It's just simply, we're just taking another asset rather than cash or digital cash, whatever in your bank when you pay your fucking bill, your taxes. Will take Bitcoin. That's what they should do. And could you imagine there's a transparent ledger? You can see how much Bitcoin they have.
It's unprecedented, right? For a government to have this. Yeah.
Now the question is, would they host it? Would they hold on to their Bitcoin themselves, or would they fucking use Fidelity, Coinbase, or some other? You
already know the answer, buddy.
It's not going to be Fort Knox. It's, they have supposedly a whole bunch of gold under there. Why not just put, a computer there,
a couple cold cards,
something, just start collecting, BTC pay server, start collecting, right? What the fuck? Anyways,
oh God.
So let's talk about some new options out there for people who want to do mining on a budget. Like we talked about, and here's the BitAxe that we have here. People should buy that, by the way, from Decentral Technologies. There's now the Avalon Mini 3 and the Avalon Nano 3S, two different beasts that have been released. The Mini 3 delivers 37.5 terahash per second at 800 watts. So for people doing the math at home, that's 21 joules per terahash. Not too bad. The Nano 3S is 6 terahash at 140 watts. That's 23 joules per terahash. So that's more comparable to a S9, and the Mini 3 is comparable to a modified S19 that you could just plug into your 110 and go ahead from there. So there's a video out there that shows off the Mini 3 and how it could be used as a space heater. It's really slick. The design of this, it looks like a functional and ergonomically very nice. Like it looks very cool, the space heater.
Yeah, the aesthetic.
And it has, like it not just the looks of it, but also there's the smart temperature control and quiet night setting mode on it. So it's not just running 100% all the time. It's able to adjust itself based on the temperature. And also, if you want to sleep quietly, it gives you the opportunity to put it in a quiet mode. Really cool stuff. The price of the Mini 3 could be rather steep. I did some searching. It looks like it's going to be around 1K USD for the unit. And the Nano 3S looks like it's going to be around 400 USD for the unit. But those seem to be unofficial prices right now. Don't know if that's going to be straight from Avalon. I don't know. But either way, it's really cool to see that there's options like this. And it's, the BitAxe is making a mark in the whole industry because people are buying this and using these a lot. Not to say that this is going to make up and take a bite out of the BitAxe market, but still, people want to mine at home. People want to mine and heat their homes, and people don't want to deal with the hassle of noise, excessive electricity, heat, shit like that. But people want to heat their homes, right? So I like this. A lot of options. It's just going to make home mining even more easier to do. And this is what we want. We got to decentralize the mining game.
Just looking on Amazon here, the Avalon Nano 3, so not the 3S, is $372 shipped in Canada. So it's not bad. You can get the old one if you want. 140 watt. Yeah, it's got everything on board here. This is great. I think this is fantastic, especially when you consider that there's companies out there selling way shittier versions of this, like HeatBit, right, is selling like a garbage S19 inside a huge heating container. I think those are like $1,200 or maybe more. They're pretty expensive. They don't give you really any hash power. They're huge. And, you know, some people kind of like the way they look. I think they're ugly, honestly. I think the Caradzas have one at Your Life Returns, right? They have one at Rockstar. Yeah, it's fucking
it's
huge.
It's an S9, I think it's inside
S9. It's not even an S19, S9.
No. And I believe, I mean, this whole thing is just, it's competition eventually creates for better product for the end user.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You basically have somebody else can make a better product for cheaper.
Yeah.
Then if the other company wants to adapt, do the same. Try to make something better for even cheaper. And who wins in the end? It's the consumer that wants to buy these products. This is what you want.
So it's funny. One smart fellow in the chat, my friend finally got his HeatBit after 2 years. This is the other thing. Like the delay in shipping for some of these companies has been unbelievable. There was another guy who used to run ads on Pomp's show years ago. I think it was called a One Miner or a Coin Mine or something like that. I forget. But those things were like $1,000 US as well. So you're right. The competition and sort of like just the general deflation in consumer electronics has led to better products and cheaper pricing. Would you ever consider doing something like this? Buying one of those units and kind of hanging it up somewhere and looks cool? And
no, because here in this part of Ontario, heating homes with natural gas is the cheapest and most effective way to do it. Mm-hmm. So in other parts of the country where you either don't have that ability to use natural gas or electricity is cheap, I would suggest those areas take advantage, heat your home with Bitcoin miners and go nuts. But here, you know, forced air using natural gas, I'm just 10 feet from my furnace. That's the way to do it here. For sure, unfortunately. I'm just looking at
Boomer in the chat saying the bit chimney. What is the bit chimney? How's that look? This looks kind of cool. But this is actually a lot like looks a lot like the HeatBit. This is not my favorite design. You can buy this at Decentral too for up to $2,500, as low as $560 and as high as $2,500. That's a nice unit. I don't know if I care that much about the electricity price. I do care, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not price agnostic on the cost to run these things, but if you could heat your house with it or heat like a room with it, or like, and is there in your mind a price that you'd be willing to pay to like support the network? You know, like, is that part of the math for you?
There's a lot of variables to consider because I'm in a family in this house.
Yeah.
I have to take into if it was me on my own, I wouldn't care about the forced air, natural gas. I would just simply use this, and I'd just carry it. I'll put it on wheels. Wherever I go, I just plug it in, right? So whatever room I go into, I plug it in and let it.
Just always warm legs.
Right next to you. That's the way I would do it. So try to just keep it on the move as mobile as possible.
That's good. I like that.
I keep my, I don't know. That's just me. Anyways, let's talk about yesterday, January 12th, because that was an important anniversary in Bitcoin, Joey. And because back in 2009, so 16 years ago in a day, the first Bitcoin transaction was done where 10 Bitcoin was sent from Satoshi Nakamoto to Hal Finney. And some may suggest maybe Finney was simply sending it to himself, but this is a debate that still has yet to be resolved.
It's all alleged. No one knows.
Yeah. But either way, it was still the first Bitcoin transaction, regardless of who sent it to. So it's used today's price. 10 Bitcoin that was moved, it's some $940,000, which is a decent amount. Considering, man, that's 16 years ago. That's how much things have changed. Another anniversary passed this past week as well. January 9th, 2009 was the first version of the Bitcoin software client was released to the world that was hosted on SourceForge. And according to Satoshi, he made the proof of work ridiculously easy to start off. Think about now how challenging it is to build a block, how much energy companies are just pouring in equipment, ASICs, crazy amounts to just solve a block. Back then, as he said, ridiculously easy. You could just use a CPU, generic CPU from your...
Do you know how long it took him to mine the first block?
7 hours, was it?
10 days.
Aha, okay.
So it's super easy, but not that easy. Could have been easier probably for that first block.
Apparently the optimization may not have been...
He's like the historian, so he'll correct me if I'm wrong. But I think I saw 10 days or read 10 days at one point.
So and I'm wondering how well, remember, that was a first client that was released. How well was optimized? Obviously, it probably wasn't anywhere close.
No.
So, and another thing of note, it was only released for one operating system, Windows.
Nice.
You couldn't use it for Mac OS.
Does that hurt your heart, Mr. Linux?
No. At the time, if you wanted to capture the most users, you would have to have used something like Windows.
Yeah, for sure.
Sense.
For sure.
Or something brand new. So yeah, so there was no Linux port. There was no Mac OS port. It was simply just Windows. So just food for thought.
Love it. That's a great... It continues to be just an incredible moment in history. All these different occasions, right? The first transaction, first node, first implementation of the software. It's just come so far at this point. And for people who think this is a scam or a Ponzi, you don't know the work ethic and the sort of ethical fiber of the guys who are doing this for nothing, for no one at the beginning of this project. These guys were anything but scammers. And I think most Bitcoiners have absorbed and adopted that way of thinking too. And it's like I said before, I think last week or the week before that, there's just nothing else like this. Nothing else compares. Culturally, incentive-wise, nothing compares. This is the apex predator of quality workmanship and quality ethic in the financial space. Nothing even comes close.
Like a religion, Joey.
Yeah.
Because once you learn it, once you see it, you can't unsee it. The stupid thing.
Mm-hmm.
But not just, I could guarantee you that tomorrow there's going to be more Bitcoiners than there are today.
Yeah.
And that's an incredible thought. And then that's going to be like that for the next foreseeable future. Very few, if any, once you become a Bitcoiner, you don't, stop becoming one. It's like you are one and that's it. You're there for the rest of your life, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's amazing. And just through grassroots efforts, and there's no PR firm, right? There's no fucking
nothing.
CEOs.
There's honestly nothing. There's nothing. The only people who are publicly advocating in a way that a CEO or whatever would, half of them are cringe and net negative. So you're kind of winning even in spite of those people, in spite of their communications, right? That's rare, to say the least.
I want to talk about, this is a heads up for Quebec residents, because there's a new reporting requirement for 2024 filings. And this is thanks to a person named SlutWizard101 on Reddit. So I like that name, SlutWizard101. And at the beginning of 2024, if you acquire or hold any what they call crypto assets during a taxation year, you must complete the crypto asset return and file it with your income tax return. So if you acquire, hold, or use stuff like Bitcoin, you have to report that on line 24. And they say there is tax consequences if you use it to buy goods or services, convert them to a monetary currency, exchange them for other crypto assets, or use them even to make a donation. There might be tax consequences that are applied here. So yeah, be very careful if you are buying Bitcoin in Quebec. And well, they say you got to report it. Line 24. It's up to you if you want to do that. I'm seeing my piece here. I'm washing my hands. If you do it or not, it's up to you.
Only one comment. If they want to know how much you have, they're going to try and tax you on it eventually. And you can see the writing on the wall here. It's so important to take your privacy and OPSEC seriously when it comes to the Bitcoin you own. That's all I'll say.
Joy, I think that's a good time to end it. This
Sure.
is 55
Sure.
minutes in almost, and we could transition to the rest.
Yeah,
of
let's head over to notable news. If you're on audio,
it's a good thing I had the Tether story. I'm thankful I didn't even talk about it. How they moved
what Tether story?
They moved from the British Virgin Isles.
Oh, who cares? Whatever. Yeah, they re-domiciled. Yeah, who gives a shit? If you're on video, stay here. If you're on Twitter, stay here. I see a couple hundred of you guys hang out. We'll be right back. No breaks on the CBP. Take care of yourselves till next time.
And don't be a cock.